Hello, it's Kay. Welcome to the sixth episode of my life journey. In the last two videos, I talked and shared lesson 1 and 2 that my life coach assigned me to do. It's actually better to say he ordered me to do, as I explained that I promised to say yes to whatever he tells me, like a soldier and his commander. By the way, our relationship is very friendly and he's a super gentle and caring person. It's just that this path and, way of thinking and method needs me to behave like that in order to get ahead and reach good results, as I explained before. Yeah, first let me remind you of lesson 1. If you remember, lesson 1 was silence of mind. In the shortest and simplest terms, it was all about cleaning and clearing the mind and the internal world from whatever that doesn't matter for our growth in life. So that as a result, we can reach at a state where our mind and feelings can let go of all the unnecessary and fake issues that they are amused with. And again, as a result, they can find and navigate toward things that actually matter for our true selves and our essence. Do you feel what I mean? I talked about how it should be done in its allocated video, so let's get to the next thing. Lesson 2, on the contrary, was all about clearing and cleaning the environment around us, the external world. In short and simplest terms, it meant eliminating any kind of distractions that keeps us away from reaching our potential. Is that clear? Do you feel what I mean? Like, lesson 1 was all about, anything that was in our head, and it was more mental, but this one is physical. It's about anything outside of our head. Yeah, in this lesson or way of thinking, time was considered as the currency, and anything that prevented time to be spent on the right things had to be eliminated or restricted. You know what I mean? By right things, in parentheses, I want to add that I meant any actions that need to be taken to potentially get us closer to our goal. I gave a broader description and, all the instructions of how to approach this lesson in episode 5. So I want to talk about how I applied them in my life and the results. Let's get into it. I tried to take the steps and apply those two lessons in my life, and honestly, they were way harder than what I thought. Let me start by the first lesson. In the past 2, 3 weeks, I tried to, put myself in a meditative state and, sit somewhere and try to become still, totally still, and, remain calm and focus on my breath, as I explained in its video. At the beginning and in words, everything was easy, but as I pushed harder, I I realized that my mind is fighting fighting harder against me. Let me make it more clear. Like, for the first couple of days, I tried to, make it longer, like for 1, 2, 3 minutes, and my mind tried to mislead me or fool me with some shallow thoughts of my daily things and my, daily stuffs that I do, the things that friend said, the things that I saw in that video, these types of things. But as I tried to make progress and ignore them, my mind found more creative and more, s- smarter ways to fool me and distract me. Like it tried to distract me by asking deep questions and, bringing deeper thoughts and feelings in my head. And man, it was strange. It was weird. I didn't expect that. Like I even didn't know our mind is this smart and can be, this detrimental. It was so surprising. It was like a consistent and, steady challenge. Mm, if you've tried it, I think it makes total sense for you and you can feel what I say. And yeah, but anyways, I tried it for, shorter intervals of time. In the first couple of days, I could only put myself in that position for 5 to 10 minutes. But after some days, I increased it to 15, 10, or at most to 20 minutes. I mean, but just staying in that position, not focusing on my breath for 20 minutes. I'm not there yet. But yeah, so far so good. I'm happy, and considering the hardness of this exercise, I think I'm making progress. I'm still way far from our goal that SAR told me, and that is 1 hour of consistent focus on breath. I don't know how long it will take, but yeah, so far so good. I will try my best to increase it, and I will keep you updated on that. And about lesson two, it was kind of a similar challenge, but this time in the external world with people. Do you feel me? Like, I started to say no to friends. I stopped going to events and attending some activities that I felt are not that necessary in the past 10 days. I started some new complementary courses in the field that I'm studying, and I put my cell phone on Do Not Disturb during the day, and I almost disappeared from social media. People who I know, obviously started to ask what I'm doing and why I'm doing so. But as I was told and as I was taught, I responded and replied to them in the nicest way possible, letting them know that, I started some new tasks and activities and I'm not as free as I used to be. As Sar explained, I didn't have to explain everything to everyone in details, but just as necessary as, I needed. I mean, up to that point that I show others, I'm not willing to, do those things anymore because I'm busy. And obviously, people who I knew started to nag and complain. They started saying things like, "Are you crazy? You want to stay home on a Saturday night? You want to stay home on Sunday? You don't want to come out and hang out with us? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind or something? What is wrong with you? There has to be something wrong going on in your head." All these stuff. But Sar already warned me and prepared me for, these reactions from people. So I was kind of prepared and I could see this coming. So I could act accordingly, in a better manner. Yeah, I just acted as I explained in episode 5. And honestly, I had to be bitter and unpleasant with people from time to time when those things happened. But I did it anyway, as I was told. And I think I need more time on this. I mean, it's not, it hasn't been a very long time since I started this lesson. So I'm curious myself about what happens uh, with I mean, between me and others about this kind of lesson. So I will keep you updated about it. Both lesson one and two are such huge challenges. Actually, I like challenges, and I feel like I found, you know, the most challenging things in life, especially lesson one. As some time passed, I got a bit more confident and comfortable with the first two lessons, and I asked Sar for our next meeting. It was held yesterday, and I'm super excited to share with you what happened. So let's get into it. First, he asked me how I was doing and how the first two lessons went for me, and some general ideas about it. I explained everything in details, and he added some comments on them, and he told me how I can make them better and improve them, that I will share with you little by little. Okay, then he talked about lesson three, and lesson three's name is this, as he said: Purifying your mind. What does that mean? In essence, purifying mind is all about avoiding and restricting any kind of sexual activity, whether it's physical or mental, right? Okay, Sarah explained that our brains are incredibly powerful, but also at the same time, they're heavily, and intensely influenced by primal urges. Do you feel what I mean? And yeah, I could understand him. He was totally talking, based on science. And he added that our minds are more influenced, by primal urges, especially when it comes to sex. And when we indulge in these thoughts or behaviors too often, actually, it can reduce our focus. It can kind of diminish or shrink our mental capacity, and even it can cloud our judgment. That was actually a very serious side of it that we discussed. Okay, according to Sar, sexual thoughts can act like a drug. When it comes to his sentences and words, I try to read from what I noted down to not miss anything. According to him, sexual thoughts can act like a drug, providing short-term pleasure, but ultimately distracting us from our goals and weakening our mental discipline. He ordered me to eliminate all those distractions entirely. As we continued our meeting and discussion, there was a point that I felt I heard a couple of important sentences, and I stopped him, and I, made him slow down for me to write it down, to remember, to remind myself that sentence daily, at least at this phase that I'm trying to apply this in my life. I want to share it with you. Okay, this is what he said. Sexual activity in any form should only happen once in a month if we are being kind and generous to ourselves. If you are in a relationship, then you can have it once a month. And if not in a relationship, your body is smart enough and it will automatically take care of it while while we are asleep, during sleep, without any need for us to intervene, right? Could I express it, right? Could you feel me? Okay, let me rephrase it in other terms. Sexual activity, this is the order. Only once in a month. Just this. And if we have a partner, if we are in a relationship, That's totally fine and natural to have sex once a month. If not in a relationship, if we are single, only we can let our body do it by itself. Our bodies release while we are asleep when it's needed, when our body needs to release. And we don't need to do anything about it. This is natural, this is right, as he said. He continued going like this: single or with a partner, it doesn't matter. Any form of sexual activity, whether through masturbation or in the form of thoughts, is prohibited. He even mentioned that our mind is incredibly powerful, something that I came to understand in lesson one, right? Do you remember when I talked about silence of mind and how my mind tried to fool me with new ways, tried to distract me with new ways? I think such a thing also exists in this lesson. How? Let's get into it. For instance, the first step for me to take is to cut myself off from exposure to sexual content in any shape or form: social media, websites, internet, anywhere. This means ignoring and not following contents on social media where people deliberately share, deliberately display their bodies or discuss sexual topics or relationships and things about girls and boys and this is stuff that are so common these days. Okay, by doing this, my mind reaches a new level of control, right? This is when the game actually starts. This is when our minds reach a new level and tries to come up with new ways to kind of fool us. Okay, after some time, it tries to find new ways to lure us back, like with sexual fantasies or thoughts about how I could impress the other, the opposite gender, the opposite sex, and or how I could get them involved emotionally in some shape or form, or how I could act dominant and alpha with them, right? Do you feel what I mean? These are, as he said and explained, these are things that we do unconsciously so many times when we are, when we are with the opposite sex, the opposite gender. So I need to be careful of that. That also falls under the category of sexual thoughts. This is what he was trying to, teach me. He even pointed out that when we allow sexual activity to occur during sleep, for someone who is overly involved in these matters, it may happen more often during the first couple of months. And if this happens, we have to suggest to ourselves or our subconscious mind to slow down, right? To slow down and extend this process, aiming for about a 1 month gap. Could you understand? Do you feel what I mean? Let me break it down this way. I think so far, you, if you followed my videos, you kind of have an idea of how our minds are so powerful and actually conscious about everything. It's like our mind has everything under his observation and is kind of aware of everything, all of our actions, all of our feelings. It's very smart, you know. It's like a child that we can nurture, you know. it's kind of hard for me to maybe express what I mean because I had hours of debates with SAR until I could digest this. But, anyways, if for someone who is, too much involved in sexual thoughts and activities, at the beginning, when they let this to occur while they are asleep, it may happen more often, like their body may release more often, maybe once a week, maybe every couple of days or twice a week. In this scenario, what we need to do is kind of talk to ourselves, kind of tell our subconscious mind to slow down by, getting angry of ourselves. Like, okay, this is too much. It should happen slower, you know, this way. I hope I could explain as best, in a way that you could get the idea. The third lesson is really a bit surprising to me. It really challenged a lot of things that I thought I was aware of. And this idea actually, I realized that it's not just about abstinence. It's about, freeing our minds from the constant pull of these distractions, and, so that we can direct that energy in the right place toward, more productive and meaningful pursuits. Sar believes that by purifying and desexualizing our minds, this way we will be able to think more clearly, focus more, intently, and make better decisions overall in all the areas of life. As the final thing for this week on this topic, I want to say that I thought that is totally normal to see and hear about these things, about these contents here and there on social media, internet, everywhere. Simply because it's so common. It's too common to see these things, and it has become a matter of entertainment for people. People make lots of jokes out of it. These things about girls and boys, you know, these topics, and it's amusing, right? And I'm one of those people who enjoyed, uh, hearing or seeing these things. Anyways, I will do this practice. I will apply it in my life anyways, and I want to see what it brings to my life. I didn't expect, this much intense up to this extent. You know, I heard recently that distancing oneself from these things may be helpful, but not this strong actually. But yeah, I will do it, and I will share my experiences and results along the way. So, by that being said, see you next time and forward.